I understand that. I can relate to that for sure. Love them, feel good about them. Awesome. How do you feel about people that abuse animals?
I'm retired law enforcement.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
they gotta go.
Yeah.
They gotta go. Because why?
Right.
Why could you possibly do that?
Right. Right. 100%. Absolutely. Third question, what would you qualify or describe, and with your background, you might have very specific examples of this, what might you qualify or describe as animal abuse? Like, how would you describe that to someone?
The full gamut from neglect,
Sure.
the animal hoarding where people have a heart for it, but they're just doing it wrong.
Sure.
And they've got 50 cats that haven't been fed or spayed or
Sure.
anything. To, cockfights and stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense to me.
100%.
I've seen the full.
I bet, yeah, especially with career in law enforcement, I'm sure you've seen it all the way. So it's not just theoretical for you, you've actually seen it firsthand. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I would think that it's physical and then also going to be emotional, right, too? Emotional abuse as well. Yeah, so right there with you. Okay, so the fourth question, easy to ask, can be a little bit trickier to answer, is what about the animals that we take into slaughterhouses to be killed for food, to wear, for leather, for wool, silk, the cows, the pigs, the chickens? What do you think about that?
Right. Ethically, I would be vegan.
Okay.
In my 60s now, getting enough protein is really important to fight off, the sarcopenia and the
Sure.
osteoporosis, and getting a full essential amino profile
Sure.
without meat is really hard to do. So we have gone years ago now, grass-fed, pasture-fed, small farms, going that route. I don't think we bought anything commercial, not even eggs, in years and years and years.
Sure. No, I hear that.
If I had to kill my own food, I'd be eating vegetables.
There we go.
So there's
right.
the ethics. The ethic and emotional thing is here. Health-wise, we don't do as much as we used to.
Sure.
And because the price, of course, for the grass-fed and the ethic is,
Sure. No, I absolutely
it's a
understand that.
dilemma.
No, I hear it, and it's tough, right? Because you feel the ethics of it, that you don't want to contribute to what happens to the animals, right? And at the same time, you also want to make sure that your health is taken care of. Well, and so you mentioned being vegan, right? So do you know what the definition is of veganism?
Everything from just no animal products at all. So nothing that's got tallow or skin or anything.
Sure, yeah.
Nobody died. Nothing with the face died for your consumption.
There we go. You're on the right track. So a lot of people think it's just a diet where it's excluding animal products. It's an ethical stance. You mentioned ethics. It's an ethical stance that humans should live without exploiting animals. So that means not consuming them in the diet. So an animal-free diet is a natural logical conclusion of that ethical principle, but also not going to zoos and aquariums, not wearing fur, leather, wool, silk, like that, right? So it's not exploiting animals for our purposes, okay? Because the good news is we don't have to, right? And so all the largest dietetics associations around the world, all the science agrees that you can actually get everything you need to be completely healthy without having to consume animal products, right? Even you mentioned like protein and essential aminos and like that, right? So I'm vegan. We're all vegan that we're here doing this. And so before I went vegan, I would track what I ate and numbers just because that was interesting to me. After I went vegan, I did the same thing just because it was interesting to me. The amino acid profile in protein was actually one of the easiest things to get. Actually wasn't hard at all. And so it's completely doable. And it's not just me, you shouldn't just take my word for it, that's just anecdotal evidence, right? But the actual scientific consensus is that you can 100% get everything you need without having to consume animal products, right? Completely. You look at it in that it might be challenging or hard at first to figure out what to eat and what to do to get all that. But if you put yourself in the position of the animal, right, and being in law enforcement, you saw this, and you can, I'm sure, think through to the animals that go into slaughterhouses. If we think through the position of the animal, who has it harder? Us learning something new or the animal? The animal does, right? And so would you want to trade places with the animal?
Of course not.
No, of course not. Neither would I, right? No one ever says yes to that, right? So no, of course we wouldn't, right? And you mentioned like buying things non-commercial, right? Like small farms. And I used to do the same thing. So I used to buy everything grass-fed and the highest welfare rating, right? But the thing is, then we analyze and go, well, why are we doing that in the first place? Because then that means that we care ethically what happens. So is the ethical thing to do the wrong thing better,
Right.
or to not do it at all? Right?
Yeah.
And so I think you'd agree not to do it at all, right?
That'd be smart.
So if you know that you can get everything, again, it's not a judgment, just a conversation, because I used to do the exact same thing. I understand where you're coming from. If you know that you can get everything protein-wise, your nutrients, that you can be healthy, right, and into every age, is there anything that you feel would be stopping you from going vegan?
My understanding is you can't. That there's essential aminos that you cannot get.
Which ones?
I can't.
Again, I'm not quizzing you, just a conversation. All right.
I can't tell you, but
So there's nine essential amino acids, and the 9 that our bodies don't produce, and so we have to get them from our diet, right? All plants contain all the amino acids in varying levels of them, okay? And so if you eat a wide variety of foods, you will get all your amino acids. And again, don't take my word for it. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist.
That's not the case.
And that's what a lot of people think. And there's I could go on a soapbox forever about why, right? And the conditioning we have in society and whatnot
Follow the money.
right, of why we think that. But the good news is, and I'll give you a little card. We're not selling anything. This is all like just free resources that has
Yeah,
some.
if you've got websites for that, I would love
Yeah,
to read it,
absolutely. So that way you can read it.
My education has been otherwise.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Like I said, just don't just take my word for it, right? And so look through that, and I'll give you a card. Look through it, and you'll see that all the protein you need, all the vitamins, nutrients, minerals, everything you need, you can 100% get from plants. So let me ask this: if you found out that you could get everything you need from plants, and you felt confident that your health wouldn't suffer, what would stop you from going vegan?
That's a no-brainer.
Then no-brainer, right?
But
Exactly.
then you've got to worry about, okay, the folks that I know that have tried start off gung-ho, thin, lean, ready, they can run a mile, they can lift
Sure.
whatever. But as they go on, they're finding declines. They're finding teeth breaking because the lectins in the veggies are leaching out the minerals, and they're finding, I can't even think, other, down the line, there are some health ramifications that they're linking back to strict veganism.
So would you agree that even someone on an omnivore diet can have deficiencies?
Of course.
Of course, right? So being vegan is about the ethical principle that we're not exploiting animals, right? It's not a diet. And so you can do any method of eating in a way that will end you with deficiencies, or that will end you in great health. And being vegan is no different. We hear those things, see those things, we hear those stories, but anecdotally, right? Again, don't take anecdotal evidence as evidence. But you mentioned, some people like that. Anecdotally, right? I know a ton of people that have been vegan for a really long time. We actually just talked to a woman just a little bit ago that's been vegan for 30 years. One of the people that we do a lot of work with is 81, has been vegan for 39 years, right? And fantastic health, right? So anecdotally, I know a ton of people that have been vegan literally for decades. And I'm 51, so I'm a vegan at 47. And so, I don't have decades under my belt yet. But the important thing is that we have the science, right? And so the science does back it up. Okay. Yeah. So let me give you this card.
I'm an evidence girl.
No, right on. And no, as well you should be, right? And so then if you're into evidence, right? So just like I said, don't take anecdotal evidence from me, but also not just from someone you see that tried vegan and it didn't work out, because then you'd have to look at that and say, well, why didn't it work out for them? Right? Because there might be things there that you're like, oh, okay, well, if you would have just had this, right? There could be something there. So if you look at the actual peer-reviewed science and go, oh, peer-reviewed science, like, it's unequivocal. It's healthy, it's strong. So let me give you this card. On the back is a QR code. I'm going to show you on my phone where that goes to. I'm going to point out a couple things might be really interesting to you. Okay. So it's going to go to this link tree right here. Okay. I'm going to point out just a couple. There's a ton on here. I'll point out a couple to you. This one here is a fantastic speech. This guy's a great speaker. Every argument against veganism, he debunks every single one, and he's also great to watch speak.
Perfect.
The greatest speech you'll ever hear. A lot of people literally go vegan after watching this speech. It's incredible. Documentaries through here. Resources. So here's a couple on the health side, right? We're really about the animal side, that it's about not exploiting an animal at the end of the day, right? Because we don't have to. But I also hear you that the health is a concern. So this one right here, Nutrition Facts, is evidence-based videos. This is done by Dr. Greger.
Okay.
Incredible doctor, knows the stuff. And this entire website, everything on it is free, and it's every nutritional information you could ever want. He also has a couple really incredible books as well, so that's a really good one. And then if you go down to this here, this link goes to 300 vegan health sources. So this is it links to a PDF that has over 300 health studies, all peer-reviewed, legit health studies, not some dude in his basement, writing a blog, right? So
his cousin, sister's friend said.
Exactly, right? Exactly. And so this is all legit studies that back up all the health claims. And I hear you ethically, you're there. You've seen it in your real life.
Is it Forks Over Knives?
Forks Over Knives, yeah, it's a popular one.
There was one of them that was just horrible. The guy was undercover into some of the slaughterhouses.
Sure.
All the dead chickens and stuff, and it was like.
Oh, Dominion is one of them that has that. There's Dominion, there's Earthlings, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we were on salads for a month with that one, but you slide back with.
Right. And even in people want to say, and like you mentioned earlier, small family farms and like that, right? But they're
still dying.
They're still dying. They're still being exploited. They still have their own reasons to live, and it doesn't need to be our reasons, right? And it's liberating when you find out and say, oh, wait a minute, I can be absolutely healthy, and ethically, I can align my actions with my ethics, and I'm no longer the reason for that happens. Because if you go to the store and you tap your card for chicken, beef, pork, eggs, any of it, milk, dairy, every time you tap your card, you're literally telling the industry to do more of this. Whether it's from a small family farm or a commercial farm, at the end it's the same.
All right.
So,
Awesome.
outstanding. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Safe. Thanks.
All right.